So Tom Aspinall vs Ciryl Gane just went down and it ended in a finish. And no, not the long, lengthy finish where everyone involved feels content, but the type of finish where it's over fast and everyone involved is disappointed. Today at UFC 321, Tom Aspinall was double finger blasted in the eyeballs and the main event was called off. So today we will be talking about the fight, or the first 4 minutes of it. We'll be talking about fouls inside of the UFC, and we'll be talking about what's possibly next for the heavyweight division. If that sounds like something you would enjoy, don't forget to spank the shit out of the like button and my anus, and let's begin. Oh boy. Why the fuck did I waste my Sunday sleep in for this garbage? Look, I don't know about you guys, but I prefer to watch my finger blasting late at night before I go to bed. Not first thing in the morning for a 5 a.m. UFC card. And honestly, this card was just a major letdown, and now I know what it's like to be your partner. But all jokes aside, it's gotta hurt to look forward to something so much to have it finish like that. Yes, I was looking forward to this fight, but I wasn't that keen. You know, if this was JDM versus Islam and that happened, I probably wouldn't even be making this video right now, because I would just jump right out that fucking window right there. So if you have any UK fans of the sport, just make sure you give them a call. Check up on them. So when it comes to the fight, the first 4 minutes were actually very entertaining. There was this aura in the air where I felt like, holy fuck, this could go either way. You know, the problem with talking up a fighter and making it out like they could never beat the other person is that it dismisses the other fighter too much. These guys are both professionals, styles make matchups, and you never know how two fighters are going to fare off against each other until they're in there. And I was guilty of this myself. I thought, takedown threat, and the 1-2 down the middle that just seems to dominate everyone. But what did we see when the fight started? You know, both fighters were landing and they both came out swinging, but Gane landed some very hard shots to start. Not only that, Gane was using very good footwork and he was staying on the outside very well, drawing Tom into his power shots. And we saw that at the start of the fight. He was circling, and then he met Tom in the middle as he engaged and landed that hard shot to his nose. And this was only about 40 seconds into the fight, and you can already see a little bit of blood coming out of Tom's nose. Now, Tom wasn't doing bad. He was using good feints, and he did happen to fail his first takedown entry, but I feel like that was only used to show Ciryl Gane the takedown. It was only used to say, hey, just keep in mind this threat is here. You know, he didn't really commit to the shot. On top of that, Tom was also throwing some super dynamic shots. He was throwing heavy head kicks, spinning kicks to the body. He was also throwing some super heavy punches. And I don't know about you guys, but I was super nervous watching this. You know, every time these two engaged, there was a pretty big moment. Yes, Ciryl was using very good outside movement. He was using good punches to the body, good teeps. But when they did finally meet and clash, there were some heavy exchanges being thrown, and I felt like Tom was a little bit off balance for some of them. Now again, part of this was Ciryl. Sometimes he'd be using punches or kicks, and they would seem to throw off the timing of Aspinall, or at least intercept him as he was coming in. Now at about 3 minutes in this fight, the guys realized like, oh, hold on. I just remembered we're heavyweights. We need to slow it the fuck down a little bit before we gas out. Then they both locked in and started fighting again. And as I said, Ciryl was doing a very good job at keeping Tom at range. The body jabs, the teeps, and also the long rangey jab was doing a very good job at keeping Tom on the outside. Now in saying that, Tom did have beautiful pressure. I don't think he let the foot off the gas once. He did a very good job at staying in range or just outside of range. But as I said, every time Tom would enter the range and kind of set something up, Ciryl would meet him about halfway with some sort of technique, or he would move completely out of range and circle out. And the fight so far was very competitive. You know, Tom had a leaky nose, and they both landed some pretty hard shots on each other. And in my opinion, neither man had a dominant lead on the fight. Now, some people might say that Tom got dominated or that Ciryl was doing way better, but I purely think it's just because people undersold him so much that when he started doing well, it almost exceeds your expectations of what you thought was going to happen, therefore making you think that he was dominating. But if you go back and just watch the fight, you'll see it was very competitive. So as I said, neither man had a dominant lead, and all of a sudden there was about a minute left in the first round. Both fighters looked extremely locked in here. They were settled into the fight, and they were ready to go. That was until something unexpected happened. Tom Aspinall, with blood leaking from his nose, feeling the adversity coming back in his direction, smiled. He smiled and said, "Let's do this." Tom lands a heavy low kick and he winds up a big right hand to which Gane evades. Ciryl then circles out and both titans meet in the center of the octagon. This is what we've all come here to watch, and this is what we've all been waiting for. Tom feints. He reaches out with his lead hand to measure the range. This is it. It's time to show the hard efforts of his fight camp, the layoff, and to show all the progress he's made over the last few years and prove that he is the heavyweight champion. He inches forward, and he's caught with a heavy jab. But that's not enough to stop Tom. Tom throws a lead hook, but he's off balance and almost topples over. He replants himself. He recomposes himself, and he decides it's time to finish this. He steps forward, and as he's coming into range to land his heavy combo, Ciryl lands a combo of his own, one that he stole from a former opponent. He throws a kick that stalls Tom's momentum, and mid-kick he turns over, and everything seems to freeze. He makes eye contact with Nina Drama. He gives her a wink and says, "This is for you." Tom is screaming now, and all of a sudden the fight has resumed. Ciryl is now somehow 2 fingers deep inside of Aspinall's eye sockets. He is knuckle deep screaming, "What will it take, Tom? What will it take?" The ref, asleep at the wheel, realizes what's happened. He sprints across and grabs Ciryl Gane's hand out of Tom's eye sockets. Tom's eyes damn near come out with his fingers. All of a sudden you pan to the crowd and you can see Andy Aspinall flying triangle onto Nina Drama. And all of a sudden the Dubai crowd aids him and starts throwing stones at her ankles. Finally the dust settles down as Tom is left clutching at his eyes, screaming, "I can't fucking see, mate." It's kind of like in Naruto when Kakashi loses his eye. He's just left there clutching at it. "I can't fucking see." To finish it off, we see Dana White roll into the ring wearing a power slap hat. He announces that the fight is over and that the day is ruined. And that's the end of the episode. To be continued on the next episode of Dragon Balls. And that was the fight. A little bit painful to watch, a little bit anticlimactic, and sad for both fighters. Ciryl Gane obviously doing very well and beating all of our expectations. Tom Aspinall spending so much time out due to John Jones's bullshit to only come back and then get Leon Edwards' eye poked. And it's just shit for everyone involved. You know, Tom's going to get massive scrutiny, which he doesn't deserve. And as he said at the end of the fight, "Why the fuck are you booing me? I got fingered in the eye." And he's right. It's not his fault that he got finger banged in the eyeball. I'm sure he would have preferred to continue the fight without getting fouled and to wake up tomorrow without some sort of weird French conjunctivitis. But what's really going to piss me off is leading into this next week, I have to see all the comments and posts of people who don't have any critical thinking saying shit like, he quit just because he was losing. He's lucky he got poked in the eye because he was about to get dominated. Which is a retarded take. Obviously he got fouled, and I'm sure that Tom would have preferred to not be counterbalanced against with fingers in his eye socket. He got fouled, he can't continue. It sucks for everyone involved. But that doesn't mean he quit. It just means that he got a finger in the eyeball. But yes, the fight was closer than we thought. And that's why it's even more exciting that they're now going to have to run it back. Now leading into the next fight, we have a bit of a story. We have a bit of drama there. And we have a bit of hype, because at first we thought, oh, Tom's just going to run through him, and then either Pereira moves up and there's nothing left in the heavyweight division, or we get like Volkov versus Aspinall. Who wants to see that? Not me. And how many events do we need to see this happen to? The nut shots, the eye pokes, before anything is done to stop it. No points are ever taken, and I get it's a touchy subject. How do we know what's an accident? How do we know what's intentional? But if you start heavily fouling people and deducting points, they're going to be much more cautious. Maybe don't throw that knee up the middle straight towards the dick. Maybe don't extend my hand out with my fingers webbed in people's faces, because I might poke them in the eye and get an advantage, or lose points. I mean, you could almost say that losing a point is worth it for poking someone in the eye. You lose a point, but now you can't see out of your eye, and everyone thinks you're a coward if you don't continue. Those are your two options. Which one would you like? A or B? At the end of the day, no one wants to see this shit. Now I'm left making a video, ranting, on a Sunday afternoon. You have to sit here listening to me yap shit. It's just not how we want to spend our weekends. We want to be talking about, oh my God, how good was that finish? But I guess this is the UFC, and this is being a fan of the UFC. We get moments like this. Now, in terms of what's going to happen moving forward, I think they'll do a rematch, obviously. That means I think Pereira will probably verse Olberg. Maybe those two will both win. Maybe the winner of that fight can then move up to verse Gane or verse Aspinall, as long as there's no more eye pokes. As I said, in terms of the rest of the division, it's trash. No one really cares about heavyweight. there seems to be no competition. I mean, I can't go from watching these two explosive athletes at heavyweight to watching blobs and caring about blobs. Please, we need some good prospects at heavyweight, please. So guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the card. I just want to say a quick congrats to Quillan Salkeld. He had a huge short notice win, an insane head kick KO in the first round, and I feel like his future is bright. Other than that, we're 3 weeks away from JDM sleeping Islam, which I'm extremely excited for. Probably the most competitive fight of this year, and I don't think there's ever been a fight I've been looking forward to as much as this one. Again, guys, thank you very much for the support. As always, I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to click the video here or here. I'm going to have a new video out by the end of the week, and I'll see you all very shortly. Peace out.